Everybody, I'm back with another video, and today's video is going to be Chelsea versus Burnley and an analysis of Chelsea in possession. But before we start here on Keyframe with the Keyframe examples, I made a quick animation of how Chelsea move in possession and just some basic structural things as they move through the thirds of the field and their interactions between each other in the vertical corridors. So let's have a look at that really quick. I think everyone's really going to like it, and we'll be right back. Alright guys, I hope you liked it. Now we're going to go to Keyframe. Again, the link is in the bio, but let's get right into it. So Chelsea went with their back three again, as they did in their first game, but in the initial third, Burnley didn't use their high block very often, but the few times that they did get stretched out a little bit, in the first half at least, is Mendy would become a option for circulation, but he was used very sparingly, and his role on the ball in possession wasn't as big. Thiago Silva, he could stay higher with Jorginho, but most of the time we would see him move alongside Mendy. I'll use a different color than red. Most of the time he would go to one side of Mendy to offer a first line passing option, just so Thiago Silva would be on the ball rather than Mendy. And then now we can go back and look at the overall structure. We have the double pivot, and Kovacic played more as the number 8, and he had a little bit more emphasis in moving into the half space on the left side, but he did play slightly higher than Jorginho, but they also did many times partner as a true double pivot. Now we have Callum Hudson-Odoi as the wing back, a new role for him, but he's been playing well in it, and it seems like Tuchel likes him there. And then now the third man in the midfield shape was Mason Mount, and he played in the right half space on the right side of the field, with Timo Werner playing through the left half space and Tammy Abraham up top. So let's keep moving forward. We can look, I just wanted to show you the starting position of Chelsea. And Burnley, they went with their basic 4-4-2. No changes really with them. So now we can really see the structure of Chelsea on the ball in possession. So we have our three-man build-up. Again, players in each of the vertical corridors. And one thing I did notice is that they stayed connected, and their spacing was pretty consistent. So why this is important and when this was important was when one of the central defenders would go into the wide area, or it could be Rudiger at times. The other two players would shift with him, so they would keep the distance, and this distance, about every vertical corridor is about 15 yards in width. So with that being said, by keeping their positioning between each other, they always are occupying different vertical corridors, giving each other different passing options. And now we can look at the double pivot. Again, as we said before, Kovacic occupying the left half space, he had a little bit more tendency to come into a wider position, with Jorginho now being the lone pivot. And then we have Mason Mount again higher in the half space, and we have our width being held by Callum Hudson-Odoi. So just the overall structure, and this use of the half space through Mount and Werner played really well against the 4-4-2 because it creates diagonal passing options between midfielders of Burnley, who I'll highlight here so we can really see how Burnley and their shape, how Chelsea create natural passing options through the Burnley shape. And we can even go a step further now, as I'll highlight the Burnley structure. So 4-4-2, and the right-sided midfielder is just off the screen here, so I'm not going to highlight it, not going to confuse everyone, but just know he's there. So now, with our basic structure, we have diagonal passes from each of the wide central defenders into the lone pivot. In this example, Kovacic is making his way back there, but if I connected him with the structure now, it would throw off the angles of the passing. And then from here, we have Jorginho creating passing options into each half space. And then we can also have Timo Werner in here in advanced half space position, but he's not on the screen. So I just wanted to show you the natural passing options from Chelsea's base structure against the 4-4-2. And now we will keep moving forward into the next picture. So now, again, we see more. Now we can really get into the structure of Chelsea with the double pivot and Thiago Silva. So they create these press-resistant triangles and diagonal passing options to have stronger circulation on the ball. And then it also is a good way with the two narrow players of the double pivot to then decrease the diagonal passing options into players like Mason Mount and Timo Werner, who are just higher, with Tammy Abraham also playing the 9 role. And then we have Callum Hudson-Odoi creating the diagonal line, as we talked about in previous videos, and then Marcus Alonso on this side. So just to note those quick things, I'll get rid of those lines, and now we can highlight the Burnley shape again. So we have our 4-4-2, Burnley's go-to formation, and how the space between the lines is key now because they have players. So Callum Hudson-Odoi, now I'm going to switch that to red. Callum Hudson-Odoi is stretching the opponent vertically, which will then create space for players like Mason Mount. And then that's why Burnley's shape is so compact around the pivots, because controlling this space is much more important right now than controlling the space between the lines, because if the pivots get on the ball, they'll stretch the defense just naturally. Someone will have to stop progression of the ball. So that's why it's so important to have high spatial control around the pivots, but also in doing that, you leave yourself to be pinned and space exploited between the lines. But as of now, it'd be quite hard for the ball to get there. But we'll see that as shifting happens and the play progresses, that Chelsea will break the lines and create superiority moving up the field. So now another example we get Tammy Abraham in the picture now. Tammy Abraham in the picture, and Mason Mount, and now we still have our three-man build-up, our back line. Always at the base, our double pivot, and then now the position I really want to highlight of Mason Mount here. We have him between four players, affecting midfielders and defense. So he's affecting four players right now just by his positioning alone. And I'm going to highlight that just so we can clearly see it. So Mason Mount positioning between four players, pinning them with his positioning, influencing their role defensively and how they position themselves, which then creates more time and space for Colin Hudson-Odoi and an advanced wingback position. So now we're going to keep moving forward here. Getting through this video quick, I want to show one or two pictures. One picture, this will be the last picture, and them in the final third. So Colin Hudson-Odoi gets the ball from the wide area. He drives in, and now we have our three players attacking the box, making runs. We have Mason Mount, who will come narrow, more towards the top of the box for the cutback. Timo Werner makes the front post run. Marcus Alonso is falling on the back post, and Tammy Abraham is also overlapping Timo Werner's run. So we have one Werner's run, so we can see it better. Werner's run is affecting the defense, pushing them back towards the end line to then try and create space in front of the defenders, and that's when the cutback becomes effective. But it all starts with Timo Werner's run, making a near post run, driving run, even if it's early, to push the defenders back. So if Colin Hudson-Odoi goes baseline, he has the space for the cutback, and that's where Mason Mount or even Kovacic at this point would come in and score the goal. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Just a quick video. Wanted to do a little bit of Chelsea today because of Tuchel, his new coaching job, and the philosophy he's creating at Chelsea. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.